Okay, Ja Morant, the starting point guard for the Memphis Grizzlies, has a new three-point celebration. So let's check it out.
So he pulls up for three, shoots it, cash, bites something, covers his ears, and then turns around.
That was it. So to me, that clearly looks like he's biting off a grenade, throw it in the stands, covering his ears as it kind of like blows up and detonates. Here's his explanation as to what the celebration is. It's not what you think it is. I'm going to take my words, I'm going to throw them out there, and then I'm going to block out the noise. So, for those of you that don't know Ja Morant, don't know basketball, here's his past, here's kind of like his history. In March of 2023, he was suspended for 8 games for having a firearm on Instagram Live. In June of 2023, he was suspended 25 games because that was his second incident of having a firearm on Instagram Live. This month, he was fined $75,000 for making finger gun gestures. Then just last night, he pulls out this new celebration, which clearly looks like a grenade, throwing it in the stands. But then he comes out and says that he's blocking out the noise. Later in that game, same game, he pulls out a machine gun like motion towards the fans, towards the referee, towards the opponents. So two incidents happen in the same game, and then he tries to defend the first one by saying he's blocking out the noise with his words. Clearly, he's not blocking out the noise if he's making a full three-point celebration to kind of speak to it. He listens to the noise, he's always responding, and he keeps doing the same thing. Obviously, money's not an issue for Ja Morant, but it's at some point it starts to hurt your team when just last month his head coach got fired. His team is struggling. They lost the game last night. And he's doing all of this when it's the first quarter. It's 25-23. It's not like at the end of the game when you used to watch the NBA, a player would score a three-pointer. Meta World Peace most famously made a three, blowing kisses to the crowd. That was at the end of the game. That was a big three-pointer. The players now are doing this in the first quarter, the second quarters, while they're losing. It's the same thing in the NFL where players will score a touchdown and celebrate when their team is clearly not going to win. So here's a little bit of history about the three-point celebration. I personally think it started back with like Dirk Nowitzki would throw up three fingers after he made a three-pointer, get back on defense. It started to evolve. Carmelo Anthony most famously would put his three to the head, three to the dome. J.R. Smith started waving his arm after he made a couple threes. Jalen Brunson has a very popular celebration now where he'll put three fingers up to his nose, and it's kind of evolved into like him waving away, like bombs away type of thing. Mikal Bridges, also on the Knicks, does like three kind of like pointing at the players. And then Steph Curry will just point up to God. Personally, I think a lot of people are complaining about the NBA, saying that it's losing a lot of its luster. I think that a lot of this is because of some of these antics that are happening on the court. Like I said, a player used to make a three-pointer and run right back on defense, and then you would just focus on basketball. I'm curious to know your guys' take. One, what'd you think of the celebration? It clearly looked like what it looked like. Two, do you enjoy this type of stuff? Do you think it helps basketball? Do you think players and kids watching like this and they mimic it off the court? I know personally when I make a three, sometimes I have a little fun and I'll throw up three to my head. But if I'm playing in a game, I'm not focusing on that stuff. Or do you think it needs to stop? If it stops, you focus more on basketball, and ultimately it helps your team play better. Granted, Ja Morant is young. He's still learning, hopefully. But a lot of this stuff is not resonating with him because it keeps getting worse and worse. Tell me what you think. Curious to know your thoughts.